Robert Pruitt, Troy Davis, Carlton Michael Gary. These are only a few of the people sentenced to capital punishment for crimes they didn't commit. Could you imagine if you or someone you loved was murdered and wrongfully murdered and later found innocent? The feeling would be unbearable. When researching capital punishment, I found that innocent deaths are only the tip of the iceberg. There has been a significant amount of studies that show capital punishment has done nothing to reduce violent crimes. Not to mention, capital punishment cases are not cheap, and death row inmates cost significantly more money to accommodate than normal inmates. From a logical standpoint, capital punishment is detrimental to society due to the fact taxpayer funds are wasted, violent crime is not reduced, and the entire system is applied in an unfair, unjust manner, resulting in innocent deaths. The process of capital punishment can be rigorous and often take decades to complete, which costs taxpayers millions of dollars with appeals and special accommodations. Statistics have shown capital punishment has no effect on the rate of violent crimes committed. In the small number of capital cases, there have been a handful of people wrongfully executed under unfair, unjust circumstances. With capital punishment costing more than normal incarceration and no statistics to back that it has any effect on violent crime, there really aren't many reasons to keep capital punishment, especially when some inmates killed are completely innocent. In years since capital punishment became legal, the U.S. spent significantly more money on death row inmates than normal inmates. Capital punishment trials often have many appeals and can span over decades, which cost hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars. According to AmnestyUSA.org, the median cost of a death penalty case is $1.6 million, which is nearly $500,000 more expensive than a non-death penalty case. It makes no sense for the government to spend this extra money on capital punishment when keeping someone in prison for life has the same effect. Death row inmates are also held in specific accommodations which end up costing more than a normal inmate. Inmates being tried with capital punishment are given their own room and are separated from normal inmates because of the requirement of solitary confinement. These extra accommodations make it more expensive to house a death row inmate. It doesn't seem liable to spend more money to execute someone when incarceration for life has the same effect and costs less. In recent years, many studies have come out showing capital punishment has no real effect on the violent crime rate. The idea of capital punishment isn't a big enough deterrent to prevent criminals from committing violent crimes. In every year since 1990, murder rates were significantly higher in states with capital punishment than in states without it. This shows criminals are not consciously scared of the death penalty, which begs the question of the benefits of capital punishment. Statistics have no evidence that corroborates any other violent crimes either. According to Columbia's Law School's Jeffrey Fagan, we're very hard-pressed to find really strong evidence of deterrence. Over the past 15 years, the number of people executed has continued to decrease with it the rates of violent crimes. Although capital punishment may seem like a harsh enough punishment to deter violent crimes, studies have proven it really doesn't have any effect. Finally, capital punishment has been carried out unfairly and unjustly a handful of times in the United States. Capital punishment allows for miscarriages of justice by allowing some innocent people to be murdered under false pretenses. According to deathpenaltyinfo.org, there are more than 170 people who were wrongly convicted and sentenced to death in the U.S. were exonerated. That means more than 170 people were almost executed based on false information, which is a strong mistrial of justice. Since capital punishment has been legalized, statistics have shown the race of the defendant will also affect the likelihood of capital punishment. A systematic racial bias exists when being tried for capital punishment on both the state and federal levels. According to ACLU.org, people of color have accounted for a disproportionate 43% of the total executions since 1976. And since October 2012, 12 people have been executed where the defendant is white and the murder victim is black, compared to 178 black defendants executed for murders with white victims. This shows that capital punishment is being carried out with some sort of racism involved, and that should not be allowed in the U.S. court system. Capital punishment has always been a controversial topic and will likely still be a controversial topic in the future. There may be a benefit to capital punishment, but the downsides of it heavily outweigh the benefits. On average, death row inmates cost significantly more money to incarcerate than normal inmates. Not to mention, there has been no evidence to suggest capital punishment deters violent crimes. The number of innocent people murdered by capital punishment is too high, especially when some cases are tried in an unfair and unjust way. Capital punishment is not a beneficial way of getting justice for victims of violent crimes. Finally, I implore you to reconsider your stance on capital punishment and push to eliminate it from the U.S. court system. Thank you.